think most of you know I pretty well talk from the heart, but I do want to read one statement before I go into more details. The uptick in gun violence is happening nationally, and now we see it affecting our city. We cannot stand by and watch this continue to happen. We must allow the police to do police activities and be police officers. We must allow them to do their job and arrest those involved in such heinous acts of violence. This calls for an all-hands-on-deck approach. Community, police, courts, and social service agencies. What happened out here last night, first of all, let me say it had nothing to do with our recreation department. The people that were out here shooting at each other weren't here to watch a ball game. They came into a secluded area to carry out a fight that started somewhere else and ended up shooting at each other. It destroyed the hearts of a lot of people, mothers, fathers, children, out here participating in sports within our city. We will not tolerate this behavior, and we will not allow this behavior to carry forward. I am offering a $10,000 reward, not for the conviction, but for the arrest of the individuals that were here in this parking lot fighting and shooting each other while our children were out here playing ball. We will not tolerate it. We have not had incidents like that before in this area, and we will not tolerate it happening. Our police department is going to start taking guns off the street again. We're seeing an uptick in people getting shot all over the place, but here we've already had, I think it's 10 deaths to gunshot wounds already this year. We will have to work to stop it, and we will do that job. We will be fair, we will be equal, but we will stop the gun violence that's going on, and that means we've got to start taking guns off the street again in large quantities and numbers. It's sad what happened here. It's sad for the neighborhood. We've only had one call in the last 30 days in this neighborhood for any type of major issue. This neighborhood has been really coming together, and for something like this to happen here at this ball field, I want you to look at this facility. This is a beautiful facility, built for the neighborhood, built for the people of North Charleston to use. And for someone to come in and just try to demolish the uptick in how we feel about our community, it's not going to be allowed. So anyone with information, please contact us so that we can make the arrest of these people, and they will be prosecuted as high as we can prosecute them for what they've done here. I'm going to turn it over now to our rec director, and he is going to give us more detail on what's going to be going on in the next few days with our rec department. And then after that, our Assistant Chief, Greg Gomes, will speak, but TJ Roston is going to come speak to us now.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor alluded to, it's a sad day when we have to stand up here and address gun violence that had nothing to do with the activities going on behind us last night. We are here for a kids' game. We provide fantastic opportunities for kids to play. We provide safe places for kids to play. And this unfortunate incident is exactly that, very unfortunate. As the Mayor mentioned, we are putting together a plan with the police department to effectively address this, not only here at Pepper Hill, but existing facilities across the city. We met with Chief Burgess and Gomes this morning to try to put that plan together. Effective now, all games tonight and tomorrow night will be canceled at this facility so that we can get a better plan moving forward to provide a safe haven so that we can resume a kids game, which is what we want to do. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to the Mayor for some more comments.
Our recreation programs will continue on and move forward. We're just going to have to make sure that we will have a police officer at every one of our locations that an event is going on. In this one, we're probably going to have 2 police officers for a while until people get calm and realize that what went on over in this parking lot had nothing to do with what was going on out here. And our children is standing in the way of them having the quality of life that every child deserves within our community. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you all being here. I'm Assistant Chief Greg Gomes with the Police Department. I just want to bring you up to speed on where we are in the investigation. At 8:44 approximately last night, we had an officer actually in the community. He heard the gunfire. He responded within less than a minute. Upon his arrival, the individuals involved had left. There were vehicles that were struck. To this point, we recovered one firearm in a vehicle on the scene. As of this morning, we've recovered 2 additional firearms that were discarded in proximity of the park, probably by individuals that were involved. We're looking into leads. Like the mayor said, we're imploring the public to come forward with information. I think we all seen that video, and if that doesn't pull at everyone's heartstrings, I don't know what will. This sort of activity has to stop, and it will stop. But we're asking the public get involved, provide us information on the individuals involved so that we can hold them accountable. As the mayor said, we will increase our presence at all our facilities. We'll have officers here. So as we resume these games, these athletes and these parents and these volunteers and coaches can come back to a safe environment. Again, we appreciate you all getting this message out, but it's important that the community knows that we will provide safe facilities for these athletes to come and participate. We want them to participate, but we need the community's help to bring these individuals to justice. Thank you.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, you
Yes,
said
sir.
you want to gain the confidence of the public. How do you plan to do that? How do you make the mother who said her son was on the pitcher's mound when all of this gunfire was breaking out?
Well, I think it's a changing world that we're in right now. This athletic field has been out here. My son played here. We've never had anything like this before. I think the amount of guns that are on the street today and the attitude of we resolve things with guns instead of talking or even fighting, we've got to change that attitude. And we've got to have the help of the entire community, whether it be the churches, whether it be neighborhood groups, what have you. We have got to come to the realization that every life is something that's valuable. And we have to make sure that we don't take the risk of those children being hurt. Having police officers at a ball game is something new for us. But we have to change with the times and what is presented to us. He didn't sound good. But we've got to work together, but it's going to take the community working with us. There are people out here that knew who was involved, who know who was involved, and they need to step up. They need to come forward and let us know. I mean, if you saw the video, and I know you did, you saw these kids diving down on the ground. What kind of environment is that? And this is a safe location. This park has been here forever. But now we've got people that want to use the parking lot to fight in. And that's not what it's designed for, and we will not allow it to continue. And it's just something that we've got to have to battle with, but we will.
You mentioned the need to take guns off the street again. Can you talk about what the city's approach has been in the past regarding keeping firearms off the street and kind of where you see you all going moving forward?
We had a stronger police presence in neighborhoods, riding around in suspicious cars. Cars that had violations, we stopped and we checked for guns, and we took a lot of guns off the street. We got criticized for it, but our homicides have doubled since we stopped doing it. And we have to make sure that the citizens of North Charleston are safe. So whatever our legal department works with our police department to determine that we can do that's legal to do, we're going to do it. Because it's that, what happened out here, that could have been any of these folks standing right here as children out here playing. And they could be, you know, scared to death and traumatized because of it. This is not something, when you see children diving on the ground out here playing baseball, it's not going to be tolerated. And we have the people that's capable of doing it. We're going to do it legally, but we are going to get more offensive instead of defensive in stopping crime in this city.
Mr. Mayor, what you said about pulling over different cars and the numbers were lower, that sounds a lot like profiling. Are you saying you're going to go back to a profiling situation?
You're not profiling if the car has a safety violation or if the car is breaking the law. That's not profiling. That's stopping somebody for speeding. That's stopping somebody that's a light out to tell them they need to get the light fixed. And it's not profiling, but it's policing. And we've got to do it. I mean, if today, and all of you drive through this community, all over this area, and if I'm doing 65 in a 60-mile-an-hour zone, people are passing me like crazy because nobody's stopping them. We're getting worse wrecks. We have got to start being proactive in our law enforcement. And that's every department, because this is not just happening here in North Charleston. It's something that's breaking news just about every day on shootings in malls, shootings in theaters, shooting in shopping center parking lots, and now shooting in a parking lot of a recreational facility. That can't be tolerated. It has to be stopped. And it's up to law enforcement to do the overall program. I'm not qualified to do that.
I'm wondering what, in terms of surveillance in the area, what have you seen? Have you seen any cars? Anything?
We surveil the area. We have cameras out here. It didn't pick up anything other than the color of the vehicle and what have you, so we're going on that. Council has been working, and we're fixing to purchase how many cameras?
700.
759 or 54 cameras that we're putting around the city at intersections throughout the city, 4 cameras to the intersection, so that we can keep an eye on what's going in and out of our communities. People who have camera systems in the yard can tie into our system so we can look at their cameras as well. It's a way of trying to deter crime within the communities, and our council has unanimously voted to support it. It's going to cost a good bit of money, but they would not just be cameras to go back and look at, they would be monitored cameras.
This might be a question for the police department, but one parent
Right.
is claiming that when officers arrive on scene, there seems to be a lack of urgency, no sirens or anything like that. She described it as a lack of urgency. Can you respond to this?
Yeah, I'm not aware of the specific nature of what she's saying, but obviously, like I said earlier, we were here within a minute. In fact, like I said, our police officers in the area heard it. There were people here, and the incident was out there, so they obviously went out to that area first to see if there were any victims or anyone that needed immediate assistance. I know the rec folks were here. They had a supervisor on scene. He did a phenomenal job at making sure that everyone got to a safe location. And then once we knew the area was secure, with the help of the rec department, folks were escorted to their vehicles once it was made safe. So obviously we'll review the incident. We'll see if there's things we could have done better. We're constantly evolving, and if there's things we can do better, we'll do that. But I'm not, I don't know that specific complaint that she has, but we'll definitely look at the whole incident.
Chief Gomes, you said that there were some weapons that were discarded. Why would they discard those weapons if we're able to get any prints of?
Yeah, so we're going to do ballistics. We're going to see if there's any relation to the shell casings that were found in the parking lot. So we'll do ballistics to see. We'll do DNA testing to see if we can get anything off the guns that will come back to any particular person. And again, we haven't definitively linked those guns to this parking lot, but I think common sense would lead most people to believe that if they're found in proximity, there's a good chance that they're related to the incident that occurred here last night.
Why do you think they would throw it away?
I mean, again, it's an assumption, but they're probably fleeing the area on foot, maybe in a vehicle, and threw the gun, discarded the gun. So I don't know. That's kind of where we are. We'll look at all that. We'll be able to tell once we do ballistics if the guns match the shell casings that were found here. Then we'll know definitively that those guns were the guns that were fired.
Can you give us a description of the kind of vehicle or the suspects you're looking for?
Yeah, we'll get that out to you. I don't know that we have information on suspects. I know there's a white vehicle that may be involved. I don't know exactly the make or model, but if there's something that we need to get out to the public, we'll definitely do that.
Chief, I know shot spotters have been a discussion in the past. Is this the time to revamp that conversation?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can always have that conversation. I think last night, fortunately for us, we had a police officer that was in the neighborhood, and I think that's probably better than any shot spotter system. He was here. He heard the shots, and like I said, before we ever received the first 911 call, the officer was on scene. So I think, obviously you can always leverage technology. That's something that the mayor and council's in the process of doing with the camera system. So I think you always are looking at technology that can help, combat crime, and I think the camera system's a huge step in that direction.
When will games resume here?
We're going to have that conversation. I mean, like TJ said, definitely not tonight or tomorrow. We'll look at maybe going back later in the week. I mean, we think it's important when, the players and parents are ready that we get back to normal so that the kids can get out here and participate and have fun playing the game. So we'll evaluate that kind of as we go and see when the most appropriate time is.
And Mr. Mayor, how important is it for people to come back out? Good question.
Well, I think it's very important because the issue here, this is not something that occurs all the time. This had nothing to do with the ball fields. It just was an open area. I think there were only 3 teams here total. One was practicing, the other 2 were playing each other. They were actually playing in the field that is separated to the back. But the parking lot was open. If they come here during a major events where we've got all fields going on, it's hard to find a parking space. But it makes me think that this is somebody who knows the area, knows that the parking lot would be available. They came back to settle a dispute. It got completely out of hand, and we need to make them pay for it.
As a parent of a baseball player, I mean, kids are terrified right now. Parents are infuriated right now. What are the next steps to help these kids through the mental anguish that they just experienced?
We'll be having a meeting with the parents tomorrow.
Right. Yes, right.
And we will get that information to the parents of the teams that were here so that we can let them know what's going on, keep them updated, let them know what we're doing out here at the field so the kids will be feel secure in coming back. Unfortunately, in today's society, random crimes happen. The greatest thing that came out of the event last night is they were shooting at each other, not shooting at kids. And that's the thing that we have to look at. This is not somebody walking into a mall and just start shooting. This is people that had a beef with each other and decided to settle it. And I think it was a mixture of men and women. And so we will get to the answer. We hope the $10,000 encourages people to come forward and give us the information. We're not asking for them to help us get a conviction. We're asking to get these people arrested and in custody and charged and awaiting trial.
What pot of money is that $10,000 reward coming out of?
It's coming out of the mayor's money, the city money from the mayor's office.
And to be clear, that's for individuals who can help lead to an arrest.
Correct. We want somebody who can give us information to make an arrest of the people that were out here harming the quality of life of people in the neighborhood, but more importantly, these kids that were here playing.
Are there any resources for the children and parents to help them
Yeah, we've already made some contacts, but I'll let TJ give you that information.
So we've been in contact with the school district, so they're alerted to what happened here last night. So they're aware. So they've been told if they have any students that come forward that have issues to contact us. We've also been in contact with some counseling services. So we're in the process of reaching out to the families individually to make sure that there's anything that they need individually, we're going to make that available to them to help get through this incident. So we've done that. Like I said, the school district's involved. Rec department's reached out to each family individually, or they're in the process of doing that as we speak. So we're going to call all of them, and we're going to have a conversation with them and make sure that they get anything they need to help their children or child get through this incident.
Real quick, Chief, last question. Do we know what kinds of guns were found and if they were modified in any way?
I don't have that information. I just know there were 3 guns, but if appropriate, we'll get that out.
Based on the video that you've seen, what does that tell you about the kinds of weapons? Were they automatic, semi-automatic? What kind of weapons?
I'm far from a gun expert, but they sound like the semi-automatic weapons to me. 2 or 3, probably. Anything else?
Will they be securing this area now that there was a man 5 feet from my window and we found an AR-15 in our backyard?
The patrols will be up in the
Yeah. So So as we mentioned earlier, when we do resume games at this facility, there are going to be 2 police officers positioned here during any time there's a game going on, and all other facilities that have outdoor sporting events, we will have at least 1 police officer at all of those locations.
One of the things that we do need to bring up, and it's not a pleasant thing because it's involving one of our other governmental entities, several people who dialed 911 got a recording machine. And we are working with the county to make sure that that doesn't happen. You know, when you're dialing 911, you need to get through. And we've got to make sure that happens. The police officer, the first police officer that arrived, was patrolling this neighborhood and heard the gunshots, and that's how he got here. That's why he didn't have blue lights and sirens going, because he was patrolling the area and then came up on what had happened here within a minute of them pulling out. But a 911 system has to, when you dial it, you expect to get somebody to talk to get help. And that's not asking, or you need to talk in Spanish, do you need to talk in English. It's about getting help immediately. Anything else?
Have y'all had any past police presence here, like been dispatched for any criminal activity? Is this the first of its kind here?
No. Ronnie Jerome, this is her council district, and she is extremely busy and attends the games out here, and it actually works out here to help them get the stuff going. And I think she can attest, if you'd like to talk with her afterwards, that this has been a very quiet area, good area. We just did some remodeling in the last few years to make it larger. We work with the elementary school so that we have use of their facility for rooms to use after hours, and it's been a good working relationship with the school district.
Chief Gomes, can you tell me about shots fired last night after this incident, about 2 in the morning?
I could get back to you. I'm not familiar with it. I know we did have another shooting incident last night at a club up the street, but I can look into it and tell you.
And what I'm hearing is that there was another shooting incident in this area, and that's after, you know, police have been alerted to what happened here earlier.
Yeah, so they're shaking their head that there was. So I'll get that for you. I'm not up to speed on it.
So if hours after an incident, and presumably police officers, there were more police officers in the area after the shooting, and it's still happening, how do we have confidence that it's going to be any better moving forward?
Well,
I mean, this is just a few hours
Yeah.
after this shooting.
No, listen, I think the mayor hit the nail on the head. I mean, we have to take a hard look at the way we police, right? And we have to make sure that we're doing it in an effective way. And there's a balance. We recognize that there's a balance in that, right? So that's something we'll have to evaluate as an agency and figure out the best way to come into specific neighborhoods and provide the policing services that they deserve. So you had 2 incidents in here last night, so we'll take a look at that. We'll make sure we increase police presence in this community. But specific to this park, we know moving forward, when there's an event out here, we're going to have 2 police officers here, right? So those folks come in. With the community as a whole, we'll look at it and we'll make sure that we put additional resources into this community if that's warranted, which obviously if you had 2 shooting incidents, I think that would justify that. And that's what the mayor's talking about. When we come into these communities, making sure that we police effectively, right? And some of that's done through making legal traffic stops and making sure that people in the community are part of that community, or they're not in here doing things they shouldn't be doing. So it's a balance, and that's something that we're going to have to do as an agency, make sure that we effectively police and we provide the services that these citizens deserve.
And Mr. Mayor, you said that this community is on the rebound. They had some problems in the past, but I believe you said only 1 incident within the last 30 days, and you said this community has improved vastly. What do you attribute that improvement to?
I think it's just a relationship with all the city events that we have, programs that we have here, getting people more engaged, more involved, working with the neighborhood council. It's, you know, I don't know of anybody that I personally know that lives in a house in any neighborhood that wants it to be violence in their neighborhood, wants to have trouble in their neighborhood. And we got to work together to make sure that happens. You know, the old thing saying, if you see something, say something. We need to know what's going on, because we have an incident that happened in another neighborhood in the last week that a house was shot up, and it wasn't a house that was intended to be shot up. I mean, so, I mean, if you see things going on in your community, and I can tell you that the police calls for service in here have diminished greatly in the last 5 to 6 years. And we think a lot of it has to do, you've got a great school. Now the school is improving. It's a better school for the kids to attend. The neighborhood is communicating more with each other. And I think you're getting an older clientele. People have lived here for a while. They get to know their neighbors. They socialize more together. They talk to each other. All that is part of the communication you have to have in a community.
This is a question for the chief. You just mentioned it, Mayor, the shooting incident. A 16-year-old was shot and killed this weekend. Do they think that this is connected at all? This is retaliation? That's what our neighbors say to me, that they're concerned this is retaliation. For that, should that happen?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Yeah, the shooting that happened this weekend involving the 16-year-old and 19-year-old activist. Neighbors have spoken and said they're concerned this is retaliation to that. Is that something your office is investigating?
This incident here?
Yes, sir.
I'm not aware of that. I'm not, but we will look for the connection, right? And so that's part of the when we get these firearms, part of the ballistic testing, right? So in theory, if you have shell casings at 2 scenes and you get one gun, you're able to determine if that gun was responsible for both locations. So that's something we're constantly looking at. Our detectives do a phenomenal job. I mean, I think most people in the low country can tell you we got some of the best, probably in the southeast, and they've been on this all night, just like they've been on the one down on Bailey Drive. And the few that happen in Charleston Farms. So we're constantly looking for connections. But I just want to, again, kind of reiterate what the mayor says. We don't believe that the people that were involved in this last night live in this community or from this community. This just happened to be the location where it happened, right? So I think that's important to distinguish that this is a great community. This community, we've built up a lot of goodwill with this community through public relations, community policing. So we have a great relationship overall with this community. Now, I know they're traumatized by what happened last night, and that's why we're here today, to make sure that we do what we need to do to address those concerns moving forward, and the concerns of every community in North Charleston.
Thank y'all.
Let me say one other thing. In the last 2 to 3 weeks, our department has taken a gun out of the ceiling in the bathroom at Military Magnet. We took a gun out of a bookcase at Fort Dorchester. So guns are becoming prevalent, and not just with adults. And that's something we really are concerned about. So we're working with the schools to try to figure out how we work more together to make sure that this takes it. Fortunately, those came out before anything happened. Maybe nothing would have happened. With a gun there, it's a possibility that it could. Thank you all very much.